Hey everybody, it's your girl Anahita. Thank you so much for joining me back here on my channel. For those of you that are new, welcome. It is such a joy to have you here. I hope that you stick around not only for this video, but for videos I've shared in the past and for a whole bunch more content that I have coming up. So to make sure you don't miss a beat, please make sure you subscribe, and I would love it if you could share this or any other content you enjoy with your friends and family. And if you are returning, hey, it's good to have you back here. So today I wanted to share a couple of things with y'all. The focus of this video is truly how we can incorporate diversity and inclusivity into our personal lives and in our professional brands. So let's just get to the basics here, and then I'm going to dive in and break the two apart. What does it mean to be diverse with your personal life and diverse with your brand? So the word diverse itself is really broad, and we have to factor in all elements of what it means to be diverse and include diversity. So the first thing that might come to mind is ethnic backgrounds. There's so much more to that. Of course, it starts with ethnicity for so many people. But think about age range, think about beliefs, think about the dynamic of households and the platforms, the people that you engage with, body types, capabilities, abilities, socioeconomic, educational background, life, the walk you've had. I mean, everybody has such a different perspective based on the experiences they have. So without even having to pull the ethnicity into this, diversity is so broad. Now, when we talk about being inclusive, diversity is so important. Of course, ethnic background is going to come into play here, not only with your professional brand, but also in your personal life. So I got some notes, y'all. I'm just going to reference this. I hope that this is going to be helpful for you so that we can continue to build and expand on diverse elements to truly be inclusive in our lives and with other people. So here's what I want to do. I want to talk about how we look at diversity and inclusivity with our personal lives. A few things I want you to consider looking at your friends. Look at the network that you engage with, your social media feeds. Look at the people you follow and connect with on LinkedIn, or even your colleagues and your coworkers, the peers that you engage with, people that you've worked with in the past, grew up with, people that you work with now, maybe even your neighbors, your neighborhood. How about your programming for kids, the kids programs that you engage and enroll them into outside of just their schools? For example, community ed is a huge one. I'm actually going to do a whole separate video on parenting and incorporating inclusivity into your children's upbringing. So subscribe because you don't want to miss that one. The music you listen to, the trips that you take, the books that you read, the podcasts you listen to, the clothes you wear. How can we be diverse and inclusive with our clothes? I'm going to get to all of this in a moment. The brands that you purchase from, the brands that you may talk about, organizations that you contribute to, organizations that you engage with. Again, community ed is one of those. Movies that you watch, shows that you watch. So I could go on and on and on. So these are just some of the many elements of our personal life that I want you to look at. So when I say look at it, I want you to really take a peek. And I'm just going to throw out social media for one. Look at your social media feed. Are the people that you engage with all kind of like of the same mold? Or is it diverse? Do you have people from different walks of life, different age range, different brands that you follow, different beliefs, different dynamics, different abilities, capabilities? Demographic is another one. I mean, if you have a lot of the same type of people, let's just say white people. Let's say your newsfeed is only white people that are 30 years old. I would raise a question for you. Is this really being inclusive. Now, what you consume on your social media is your business alone, but I'm just giving you an example of something that you can look at and even start to modify. Consider following other people from different backgrounds. Consider engaging with other people that have different values and beliefs just so you can be exposed and have conversation. Talk about influencers and bloggers on your social media. Are you consuming content and information from influencers and bloggers that are all white? Because if you are, I suggest you start switching that up. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I can only suggest how we can incorporate inclusivity and be truly, truly inclusive by diversifying the people that we engage with. And that for sure includes our social media. So this is a little bit about our personal life. I'm going to tap back into the phrase I want us to get familiar with, and that's actively pursuing something. I want you to practice actively pursuing diversity with the people around you and the brands around you in your personal and your professional life. Actively pursuing means you don't just settle for what comes to you. You actively pursue to make sure that the people on your social media, the kids in your kids, the students and peers in your kids' programs, the books that you read, the fashion shows you might attend, the music you listen to is an eclectic mix. We want things to be a melting pot so we can continue to learn from them, to study them, and to be a little bit more well-spoken and understanding, and of course, be better educated. So, actively pursue this. This is going to show that you care. This is going to show that you're interested. And it's going to show that you're making an effort. Again, I'm not an expert in any of this. I do have a multicultural lens. I have had a multitude of experiences that I can pour into you. So just hit me up on my website if you want to do a private Zoom call. But I want you to actively pursue and make an effort to diversify your personal life. Another one for the kids and parenting tidbit that I'll touch on in a separate video is, what about the books that you read? The books that you check out for your kids? Do they have diverse children? Different skin tones, different ethnicities are represented in that book? If they don't, I might ask a question to you. Is that even being diverse? You might not even subconsciously think about these things, but this is why I'm here to bring that to your attention. Another one is if you have friends in your neighborhood that are all white or all maybe of just like the same mold, windows open, let's just be real. I want you to make an effort to commute. Commute to a different part of your town that has more diversity. Make some friends, whether that's through a mom's group or a networking group for your business, or maybe your neighborhood watch has neighbors that have relatives or friends in other parts of the Twin Cities, and you really like engaging with them when they come to your town and to your neighborhood. Well, get to know those folks and maybe make an effort to have a play date in their neighborhood. Listen, I grew up in a very affluent Caucasian neighborhood here in the Twin Cities, and I'm so grateful for my parents for wanting to have provided us with a great upbringing, education, and safety. I will say I grew up a little privileged, and it's to no fault of anyone's, but it kind of skewed my lens until I was in my 30s, and I was like, oh, I need to diversify things. The thing is, I always saw color. I always saw the diverse kids in my school, but it was so much easier for me to relate to them than it was all the white kids in my school, even though I really struggled to blend in. I really tried to blend in. But here's the thing. I had such a multicultural lens that I could diversify my friends with my Persian friends and then my white friends and then X, Y, and Z. The cool thing about my upbringing is that my family has relatives and friends all over the Twin Cities, so they were actively pursuing to connect with them. We would drive to Plymouth. We would drive to Minnetonka. We would drive to Minneapolis. We would drive to Roseville. So here's another thing. touching back on, actively pursuing who you engage with and shaking it up if it's all the same mold. So now let's move on to the second thing, and that's your professional brand. This could be a whole separate video on its own. So if you have any questions, please comment below. My contact information is in the description, so please do connect with me. I love, love, love talking about this. Okay, so for your professional brand, here's how you can incorporate inclusivity and truly be a little bit more diverse than you probably have been. Think about the business owners that you support, maybe as a civilian and as a regular business owner. Think about the media platforms that you consume news from and that you want them to cover you. I used to have a PR agency. I represented the music, fashion, film, and events industry here in the Twin Cities for 7 years. I still do, just not as much as I did before because I have a business and a family to manage. But what I learned through the experience of having a PR agency is that all these brands wanted the spotlight of our news media and newspapers. But they didn't truly understand who their audience was to even find the right TV segment time frame to be casted on. We just want coverage, right? Well, I encourage you to get to know other platforms that are multicultural, maybe in your own town or even across the region. Contractors and vendors, look at who you're working with. Look at who you partner with. Look at who your sponsors are. Look at who your reps, your team, your ambassadors, your investors. Look at who you hire. Is it all the same mold, or are you truly engaging and actively pursuing more diversity? There's always what we call equal opportunity, but are people really being active in equal opportunity? This is where systematic racism comes in, folks. If you're not familiar with that, I have a whole nother video on just terms. So that's 3 videos I got covered in the future here. So here's something. Brands that sponsor, invest in, and hire you need to be factored in. Are you just taking their money because they're paying you? Or are you taking their money because you appreciate their values? Do they value diversity? Do they value including a multitude and range of people? If you're just chasing after the dollar, no shame, but I will absolutely encourage you to really look a little deeper. Why are you taking that dollar from them? How about brands that you sponsor, brands that you invest in, and brands that you end up hiring people to participate with your brand? Are they diverse people? Are they from diverse walks of life? Do they have an age range? Models, for example. If you're attending a fashion show, here's what I've realized. We have a really awesome melting pot of fashion here in the Twin Cities, and I've covered a lot of different topics and events to notice that there are people that will produce events that think they're being diverse with their lineup of models and talent. But the disappointing factor is when I go and I see 7 models on a runway, 5 of them are white and 2 of them are people of color, that is a huge disappointment. For them to call themselves diverse and inclusive, but have 50, 60, 70% majority white, of all the same size, all the same height, all the same age. Again, it doesn't have to just be ethnic background, folks. It could be all of it. Yes, there's something called having a niche, if you will. You obviously have a core audience that you're tailoring your brand to and your products to, but with the talent that you use for your marketing material, the images you post on your social media, your marketing content, your videos, your website, this is the perfect opportunity for you to have a casting call or a photo or video shoot with a multitude of talent. And if you're focusing on one specific niche audience, there's always more work you can do to dive in even deeper, to get more diverse, to be more inclusive. I get really passionate about this, so I could go on and on and on. So here's a couple of examples from my own background. So I have done I've organized several fundraisers in my time. 2 I'm going to speak on. One was when I ran for Mrs. Minnesota America in 2018. I represented here the city of St. Paul, Mrs. St. Paul America. What I wanted to do was raise funds from the community because, no joke, pageants are an insane, steep, just cost bracket. So I reached out to my community. I said, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm going out there. I have never in a million years ever expected to go for a pageant. But it's super expensive. I needed anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 just to fund the dang thing. You're talking $75 shoes, $50 earrings, and I went on the low end of the budget. $500 gown when they go up to like $4,000 or $5,000. Listen, I spent more on the pageant in certain areas than I did at the wedding. My wedding, of course. So here's what I did. I reached out to the community. I asked for funds from people from their own pockets. It was so uncomfortable, but they did. And the community that poured into me was from all over the place, from Atlanta, from Texas, from California, from DC. So regionally, it was very, very eclectic. Locally, I also reached out to sponsors. I said, hey, I'm a great representative for your brand. My platform is inclusivity and empowerment for women. That was literally what I was trying to convey the message at my pageant. I would love to represent your brand if you're willing to invest in me. I need hair, makeup, nails, wardrobe, money, this. I had a whole cost breakout. The thing is, I had a few brands that approached me. They said, hey, Anahita, you'd be a great representative. We'd love to sponsor you for your pageant. Can we give you this amount of clothing or the monetary value? I was actively pursuing diverse businesses to sponsor me, where I actually said no to a boutique that wanted to style me. Again, I could have taken all the cute clothes, I could have taken the money, but I was very adamant on making sure that people that saw me running on this platform, speaking the words I'm speaking, also saw that I was putting my words into motion. Not for show. I truly believed in diversity and inclusivity right then and there, and I haven't turned back. So I ended up working with a whole bunch of really awesome sponsors and local business owners, several from the Persian community, several from even just my core values of working with families, small businesses, and diverse communities. I wanted to make sure that I had multicultural sponsors. My outfit was somebody from an African designer, which was amazing. So these are just some examples of the pageant sponsors. It's okay to say no. And sometimes you have to say no just to make sure that you have the right people backing you. The other thing I did was have a fundraiser for my small business, Twin Cities Mobile Mommy. I had a startup fundraiser because the overhead costs are insane, and I was working with I Fund Women at the time, who supports small business owners that are women. So what I did was reach out to, again, small businesses, friends, family, and tried to get funds and their support. But when it came to getting sponsors from the community for my launch event, of course I had to have a launch party. I wanted a magician. I wanted food. I wanted snacks. I wanted silent auction items. I wanted vendors, activities that were at the event, a photographer, balloons, all the things. But I wasn't just going to welcome anyone to sponsor and participate in this launch party as a vendor or an investor. Of course, I wanted to take everyone's money. I was trying to raise money for my startup. But again, I'm not thirsty. I'm not desperate. I'm very selective. I was actively pursuing these sponsors. So I went out to my girlfriend, Gina Holiday. Shout out to Gina. She's got an awesome platform called A Spoonful of Faith. I wanted her to draw animated images of people. I think if you can see, there's a picture of me up here with my dark hair and a shirt. Gina was one of my vendors. I could have gone to a couple of other illustrator artists around town, and I did think about it until I caught myself. No, I want Gina. She represents more of my values, and I love her work, so I need her there with me. And I'm so grateful she said yes. So thank you, Gina. I also had food. The amazing, amazing, amazing family at our church, Overcomers Victory, here in St. Paul, Minnesota, they had a cafe in St. Paul called Java Express. They've walked away from it since then because it's hard work and it just wasn't worth their time to continue it. But Java Express came in and they sponsored my food. The thing is, I'm so sad I didn't go to them first. I actually had 2 other food vendors lined up. One was a white owned and operated, and one was female owned, which at that point I wanted female owned. They both backed out for different reasons, and it kind of got me into a situation where I was almost feeling desperate until I realized my church family was there waiting for me. So shout out to Mother Christine and Sister Crystal from OVC. Thank you so much for coming through. My heart should have been in there from a very, 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 very get-go, and I'm so grateful that's where it landed. So the people that even catered the snacks and the treats and the nourishment for my guests at my launch party were people of color. So that's just 2 examples. I could go on, but I'm going to have to just nip it in the bud here at this video. Actively pursue is the phrase that I want you to get familiar with for your personal life and your professional brand. If you're here to say, oh, influencers of 100,000 or 500,000 followers are going to help bring income and exposure to my brand, I want you to stop yourself in your tracks. Is the influencer really the best representative? Are all of his or her followers of the same mold? Are they diverse? I think it would be to your benefit and to theirs if you had the right representative. And if you are a blogger or influencer that makes your money from this business, that's totally fine. I would challenge and really hone in on the businesses and the brands that are going to represent a multitude of values that you personally have and that fulfills the different members of your audience. So don't just take a $5,000 check for having 3 Instagram videos. Maybe instead say no thanks, or let them know your values are to support diverse families and communities, and their platform doesn't reflect that. There's a lot of power in the word no, my friends. So the more you say yes to that's not aligned with diversity and truly being inclusive, the more eyebrows you'll probably see raised. I can tell you, I've muted and unfollowed a couple of local influencers here in the Twin Cities because I just can't stand by what they're saying with the whole anti-racism talk right now. It's not right now. It's always been around. I've been a huge diehard speaker about this. But for these influencers that say they're inclusive and their actions don't speak to it, I can't take them seriously. And truth be told, some of their values don't align with mine, so unfollow. I'm not saying you have to go through your whole social media feed and unfollow everybody, but I do want you folks to take a look. Take a look at your personal circle. Take a look at your professional brands. How can you be more inclusive? Is it the talent? Is it the verbiage? Is it the values? Is it the events, the people you hire, the friends you make, the networking? That's for you to decide. I'm only here to share just a few tips and tricks and suggestions. So I hope this was beneficial and productive for you and your time. Thank you so much for watching. Can you tell I'm passionate? So if you'd like to expand on this conversation, I'm happy to take a 30-minute conversation with you. I do charge $150 of my time because I have a boatload of knowledge and I can get really strategic for you and your brand. So head over to my website at www.itsanahita.com. All the links below for my social media and website are down there. Pop into my contact form to send me a message, and I will be so delighted to make a very impactful 30 minutes of your time with a Zoom call and make sure that you feel ready to go and tackle your brand and even your personal world. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Till next time.